we will do a roll call. A roll call to establish quorum. So in attendance, Erica Jacobson, Marshall.
Yep.
Joe is not here. Linda.
I'm here.
Jean Pace.
Here. Yep.
Tom Howard.
Here.
And Frank Visconti. Excellent. Thank you all for coming. I know that it's been a while since we've met as a group. I'm going to read the public comment. So, public comment. To receive oral communications from members of the public. Members of the public may address the Finance Committee for up to 3 minutes, longer with permission of the chair. The Finance Committee will not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes unless the time is extended at the discretion of the chair. Seeing no one from the public in the room, I don't think we have any public
I
comment.
have a quick question about it.
Sure.
Have we adopted that?
This is the same as the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Should we adopt?
I think we,
Because we're,
I don't think we have a choice, do we?
oh, we do have a choice. We run our own meeting. So if we want it, if we want that, we probably should vote to adopt it, I think. If that's,
We actually had a recent ruling relative to the open meeting law
Yeah.
that specifically stated that boards and committees are to conduct their meetings in public. The public is invited in to
Yeah.
watch you conduct the business of the town, but there's no requirement that the public be invited to participate. We have always,
Right.
you know, had some form of public input in
The
our
old saying
meetings in the
is-
past.
they're meetings in public, but they're not public meetings.
Correct.
yes.
Oh,
Not necessarily public hearings.
You're right.
Except those by law.
Yeah, but I mean, I just, if we are gonna, we should, if we're gonna adopt.
I'm sorry.
Because
We think-
part of
Yeah.
our past practice has been a little bit, you know, I mean, I'm not suggesting we don't adopt it, I'm just saying if we do, we should probably vote it, I would think.
Well, I'd
If
say
we choose.
discuss and vote.
Discuss it at the vote, if there's any discussion now, so. Do we want to do
Oh,
that?
okay.
Okay.
We'll pick it up. What we're looking at, Linda, is there's a section in.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jean says, well, should we adopt this section for FinCom or not?
I thought we already had adopted it, but I don't know.
We had not adopted it, but we
No.
had entertained people coming into our meetings irregularly.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
yeah.
And not taking up a lot of time. And so, as a de facto situation in the past, we've always allowed people who came to the meetings to
Right,
state something if they wanted to. Some people have
Right.
come and just sat through the meeting and left.
right.
Right.
And so.
I agree.
The question is, this one essentially would give us either the regulation and vote to keep that status quo. In other words, if people come, we will
Right.
listen to them, and the chair has the right to limit them or shut them off. Or do we close the meeting and say, no, that's not what we want to do? And that's what Jean brought up as a question of which way do we want to go?
Or some other alternative.
I think 3 minutes is more than enough, don't you?
Oh, that isn't really the question.
I think, do we want to entertain a motion
Yeah.
to discuss the topic and potentially vote on adopting it?
I'll make the motion.
And the motion is
To accept it as the,
to,
as written.
As our operating. Do we need a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second?
Discussion?
I have no objection. I mean, different than what we have been doing, but.
To design it any differently than the Board of Selectmen does is to invite scrutiny. Might as well just do it.
It's,
Yeah.
it's also consistent with the school committee, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
being, it's kind of following the norms, especially in a time where there was so much more scrutiny when everybody could watch from their living rooms
Right.
and participate in the
Yeah.
meetings via Zoom.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to adopt, and as perhaps we have maybe in an agenda in a future meeting, that if we have times where we want to entertain answering questions from the public, if there's other topics, we can hold certain meetings that will have a different bent of public comment. Just thinking ahead that sometimes around budget time, we'll have, or if there's a big item on the agenda where people do want to ask questions and get questions answered, we can structure a meeting accordingly.
This, though, says you can ask the question. It doesn't mean that we bring it up to
Right.
discuss and
Right.
answer.
Yes, and that's what I think is, yeah, I think this is good for our rules of regular engagement.
Future agenda. It avoids, one of the things it avoids is one person answering, one member of the committee answering a question for somebody in the audience when you can't really speak for the committee. You're only one person, and then people go away thinking, well, they said, you know.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So you have to be careful.
No, you're right.
That's why I think that's, isn't that part of, yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I would go ahead, see how it goes.
Well, we could call for a vote then.
Sure.
That would be good.
All those in favor of adopting as the motion?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Tom?
Unanimous?
I just think it's good to have it as our,
Yep.
you know.
He's
voting
asleep.
as our-
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Excellent. So the next item on our agenda is reserve fund transfers with an S. Tracy, I will turn it over to you to run us through the request.
Sure. We've had 3 requests come in since you last met. The first one is a request for $8,000 for additional premiums for our property and casualty insurance. We now have the building at 25 High Road, which is, has been deemed by Meyer, our insurance provider, as a vacant building. With that title comes a very hefty price tag
yes.
to insure it. They actually won't insure it, so we have to go out and get competitive quotes to get it insured. There was some conversation, what are we gonna do with it? Is it gonna be, you know, is it going to be remodeled? Is it going to be torn down in the future? Do we just take our chances and not insure it? But the feeling was, no decision has been made to date. Insure it now. Hopefully in the spring, we'll have a decision on what we're gonna do with that building, whether it's, you know, a renovation or a new building. And at that point, we can notify the carrier what our
Would it be
plans
cheaper
are.
to put
Right.
somebody in there? Like animal control or something?
I tried. I said, well, the COA is taking advantage of it. They're using it. We're using it for storage. And they were like,
Yeah.
no,
Okay,
no.
microphone alarm system?
It does not.
It does, no sprinkler, no nothing?
It does not
It
have
is not sprinkled.
Definitely not
sprinklers.
It doesn't, it didn't have to be.
It had
because
a
it's-
fire, you know,
It
the
has pull
pull box.
station,
pull station thing.
and it has a fire alarm.
But it doesn't have
Because of
sprinklers.
its age,
Yep.
it doesn't have to be, unless you renovate that building, you don't have to change the fire alarm yet. So once you start changing the building, once you start remodeling the building, then it has to be brought up to code. But right
8,000?
now,
Is that what
It doesn't have to.
8,000?
That's what the estimate is.
8,000 in addition to what you're already paying.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
it
Is there
doesn't,
protocol in place for shopping?
That's what
Doesn't
I'm
have to
doing.
be.
Property cash every year? Is that something that's? done
We don't do
regularly?
it every year. I think the last time we did it, the last time we did a full bid for our property and casualty insurance was probably about 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. But no one has been able to come close to Maya as
Yeah.
far as the
Yeah,
rates
Maya
go.
has
Really?
We had a local agent previously, and Maya's rates were
Yeah.
significantly better.
So moved.
The second request came from.
Should we do a vote on the first one?
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
do need it.
Yes, we do need a roll call vote. So,
You want to do a roll call or
Right.
see if we get unanimous, then we've got a roll call.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
all those in favor of the 8,000 insurance funds?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion was made and seconded.
I made a motion, you seconded it, right?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, the second request came from the police chief on behalf of the Shellfish Constable expense account. They are seeking $3,495.82. This expense has been paid already, but the account is not currently in a deficit, but by the time we get closer to June, it will be. It was for unforeseen repairs on the 2009 Ford F-250 that the Shellfish Constable uses as a patrol vehicle. Because they'll need to be signed. And when it happened, he reported it to the chair, knowing,
Yes.
you know, it may be a little bit before you guys were scheduled to meet.
Yes.
So I'd make a motion to approve this fund transfer.
Do I hear a
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Does it make sense to have them with a 2009 F-250 that's
It's from what
versus
we,
taking a cruiser that's coming off the line or something that's in much better condition and taking, retrofitting it to their needs?
That conversation is happening
Is
now.
happening, yeah.
It actually has served us well up
Right,
until
well-
now, so.
It would have been nice to be able to make that decision prior to dumping $4,000 into it.
Exactly.
It's already, this is,
It's already been done, I assume.
yes,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
that's why we have it down to the penny.
And it's in the letter of explanation is that this vehicle's replacement has been put into the capital expenditure requests for FY '23. So
It is.
how that plays out. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Does he need a vehicle to pull a boat? Is that part of it, or not? So they need
He's,
that.
yeah, and he's pretty much, he's on duty every day, depending on the tide cycle, so.
And is there a third?
Yeah,
Ready
third
for
and
us?
final one is a request from IT for $20,000. This is for upgrading the fire department's telephone equipment and services, and I'm going to read to you from the email because I'm not technical with respect to that. It says, after sorting out the scope of work and costs involved in moving the phone service to 3 Morgan Ave, they'll need $20,000 for the services and equipment necessary to make 3 Morgan Ave the location of our shared phone service. The estimated time for the project will take about a month. The cost was unexpected as the original deployment was based on the speed and reliability of the internet service at both sites, making a connection across the internet for the fire department. So it's currently, the technical components are housed here. Increased load / demand on the internet service in this area as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a situation where the phone service for public safety services has been adversely affected. The work involved in moving the source of the phone service to 3 Morgan Ave from 12 Kent Way will ensure public safety phone services will remain fully functional and not lose stability due to peaks in internet traffic, which has been occurring. He's, available to come and meet with you to talk through all the technical issues, but in a nutshell, they've been experiencing some issues with lost
Is this an IT or fire
IT.
department?
Well, it's IT at the fire department.
So,
It's the phone system.
for the fire department.
Yep.
Which is,
Is there a central IT location, is it Kentway?
Here, right now.
And you're looking now to take and move their portion to the fire station?
Correct.
I have no intimate knowledge of this, but the rumor is that Verizon is finally lighting the fiber they've laid in Newbury,
Really?
supposedly. There's, supposedly Verizon has been sending people around to check for Fios connection. If that is in fact the case, Fios does not experience load latency the way cable does. Cable is everybody
Right.
drinking off the same pipe, Fios does not.
Right.
Fios is fiber.
Yep.
That may be a cheap workaround if they do light Fios in Newbury, to just hook it up to Fios instead of get it off cable. Just a thought, but
Well, too, why don't we make a motion second and discussion, and then
Yep.
see what action we can take. So I'd make a motion to entertain the IT request of $20,000.
second.
Okay? So.
discussion?
Transfer to the fire department's budget, or?
It would be transferred to the IT expense line item.
So it doesn't show up in the fire department budget?
No, none of the
Okay.
IT departmental
Okay,
IT,
all right,
they're all
okay,
housed
just
in there.
Trying to get it square.
And this is from
From Reserve fund.
Reserve.
Yeah, yeah.
All of them are reserved.
I mean, we could certainly
Frank,
transfer it into their expense account. but-
There were some Verizon people around on the street.
There were.
Yeah.
The word, so they laid
I
that
heard
fiber,
that.
they laid that fiber years ago.
Yes, yeah.
That fiber was laid in this town and most of the North Shore over 10 years ago. Then competitively, it didn't make sense to light it.
Yeah.
So we were stuck at the
Right,
mercy of
right,
Comcast for the
yeah.
entire, actually, you know what, it may be coming up 15 years. The word is that it finally makes sense due to whatever demographics they've chosen to deal with, or probably something to do with capital equipment. The word is they're gonna light Fios finally for Newbury, if that is in fact the case. Like, I don't have a voice over IP line at my house because call quality
Is
Yeah.
over.
It's terrible.
Right, right.
Fios would alleviate that, and I
Yeah.
think Fios would alleviate the latency problems that they're having, if in fact it's gonna
Okay.
happen. Now, these things move at a glacial pace, so who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I can
But-
certainly
but
have
it
our
would
IT
be a-
director reach out
It certainly would be a
Yeah.
cost efficient
and see
Well,
what
you
the
can't sell it
timing
without it.
is.
alternative.
What's that?
But they can't sell with the company without it, so.
Yeah.
It's
And-
worthless the way it sits at this point, without.
Right, right.
No Fios.
The, however, our contract
It's 10
gets
years.
involved.
Mm,
And when does that expire with Comcast?
I think we're only 3 years into it.
Is there an exclusivity contract?
I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it is.
I'll have to double
But
check.
that would be a good thing to know, though, to find out,
Mhm.
because it, Newburyport, I think, that's why they're, I'm trying to think what they did years ago, but it could be, I don't know, but you need to check that, I think,
I will.
because it could be something I think is there and isn't, because of the contract.
I can definitely have them reach out to them and find out
If I
what's
recall-
going on. I'm just concerned.
If I recall, it
How
was
long
in the
it will be.
contract that said they had to
Yes.
provide free service to certain buildings. And they limited the amount of service they gave to each structure.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure that there was anything forcing them to it. I think that they were forced into giving.
Right, but it's a contract for the entire town even, like, it prohibits another vendor from coming into Newbury and providing you with something other than Comcast. They had an exclusive, I
But
think.
I've
I'll pull
heard
the contract.
that
We need to
Verizon,
just
Yeah,
find
I've
out.
heard
Yeah.
Verizon has been going around.
They have, that's what we
checking
just said,
and trying to put in, Fios or whatever they're
yeah.
trying
Would
to
be
check
good to
out.
check it.
So should we table this one?
Well, I think they need it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, because even if we, like, are we in a position of waiting a month to make a decision, or are we putting things
Is service
at
that
risk?
compromised at the moment?
It's compromised.
Oh, so we need to do this.
So what do they rely upon for backup, wireless?
They've
presumably?
got wireless and they've got some kind of a connection they're using with the PD.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah,
technical
yes.
is not my thing. I can have him write up the details. I mean, you're protected. You're not gonna
Oh, yeah,
dial
no, that was my-
911 and not
yeah,
get
no,
them,
I was
but
just
they're having
wondering.
a lot of problems and it's been getting exponentially worse. I think some of it he related to the issues that we were having here with trying to stream our select board meetings and things just dropping and, I don't know the details. I think part of it's the fact that we're here and we're bouncing back and forth from here to 25 High Road. And there's all sorts of issues occurring, but
The only
it's
concern I have
ongoing.
is where it's going for climate control.
Oh,
Are we putting that into a building when you could probably put it next door, which has much better climate control over the equipment? Just the fire station, we all know needs attention.
Mhm.
I just question if we're putting this in a structure that is not gonna be conducive to its effectiveness and livelihood,
So we
life of
put
it.
but maybe
Yeah,
eventually we
police
can
station.
change it.
You'd prefer to see it at the police station then?
Well, it makes a lot more sense.
it seems to me it would too, but I don't know what it involved.
We
Is there a
can't not
person?
have the fire department.
We have a
I just
consultant
Right.
that's working with us.
From my prior life, we housed everything where we were for the city.
Yeah,
In there. Let me
Yeah,
just see
it
if
went
it's still
from there
there.
out.
yeah,
Okay.
Because of climate.
right. Oh, yeah.
He's gone.
I don't know how much of an issue that is today, but it certainly was. So, what are we doing with this? We're doing-
We can always amend whatever we approve tonight, can't we?
No, we
Yeah,
agreed
and
with
just,
them
I
in
mean-
transfers.
Yeah, I mean.
Just to be
it's-
clear, my intent was not to throw a monkey wrench or anything. I just,
No,
no,
when I
just
hear
to-
anything for connectivity today, and then a
That's the way to
$20,000
go,
price
for
tag
sure.
thrown around, my alarm goes off.
Yeah.
It's like, there's always a workaround,
Yep.
but public safety is public safety, and
Yeah,
that's, and I get it.
that's the-
Exactly.
That's
So,
Right.
I mean, to me, it feels like one of those, I've got you over a barrel sales pitches, but not by anybody in our
There-
town, but by the people doing the work. But again, that's just my skeptical nature, so.
We could approve it.
And if we
with-
don't have time to wait, we don't have time to wait.
Yeah,
No.
we could approve it with a desire for them to investigate whether or not it would be better to place it in the.
To do the
in
follow-up.
Yeah.
Police station
And also
and
to,
follow up on the Verizon.
Versus the FiOS. Okay.
right,
Yeah.
and also just any of the, if, like, will this equipment that we're placing today, will it still be in good shape if we are doing upgrades to anything else in the future? Will it
Yes.
be,
Yes,
save us from having to do this?
again, yes.
Okay.
Call for a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass unanimous 6-0. No one is speaking. And
With-
Tracy, I can sign the papers at the.
Okay.
At the end.
And just so you know, there's, with those three approvals, that leaves a balance of $118,504.18 in the reserve fund.
What did we start with?
What was that number?
118,504.18.
What did we start with?
150.
150? Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy. And anything else in terms of town administrator's report or current financials that should be on our radar?
I mean, our current financials in terms of revenue is, it's lower than we would normally see, but it's right where I would expect it would be. We're calling it the COVID effect.
It's insane.
Building permits are down. licenses are down a little bit. Not, like I'm not panicking, I'm not looking at it and thinking, oh my God, June 30th, we're gonna have revenue deficits or anything like that. But it is lower than we would normally see at this time of year, but we're monitoring it every month. There were a couple of strange things that happened this year too. There was a snafu at the Registry of Motor Vehicles, so one of our commitments went out later than it normally would, things like that. But hopefully, as we get, into the spring, we'll have a
What
better
is the
handle.
excise tax being hit on vehicles?
It's not. It's not. I mean, we were conservative in our estimates when we looked at where we wanted to be, so I had dropped them down a little bit last year, and they came in higher than anticipated. And this year we kept them level, and they're pretty, they're better than I expected motor vehicle to be, so.
The numbers are all off the charts. People paying 12 and 14K over a sticker on,
Yeah,
vehicles just to get them.
right.
Just to-
If you can find them.
You can find them,
If you
yeah.
can find
Yeah, and if the dealer gets unclaimed inventory, they're sold within a half hour. It's amazing, so I would think that whatever lack of sales numerically there is made up for.
And the values, and the prices, yeah.
This report we're looking at says September.
This is September.
Is it
the most-
September?
This is the most up to date.
Oh, this is the most recent?
Yes.
We do quarterly. We do
Quarterly.
quarterly for the last couple of years.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
My brain is.
We're just closing out
Yeah,
December now,
I
but
know.
I give them to you on a quarterly
Yeah.
basis.
Doesn't matter.
And is there any, do we have our free cash certified?
Yes, we did.
What is it?
But I sent it out to you.
No.
We didn't
get that.
see
I
free
remember that.
Yeah,
whatever.
that
cash. Free cash. That should be healthy. By my estimate, back of the envelope, it should be healthy. Who knows?
Yeah, the most recent certification was $4,931,255.
4,931,000.
255 as of July 1, 2020.
And they certified that in October, November sometime?
Yeah,
Yeah.
October 19th.
Yeah.
And at one of our select board meetings, we talked about putting together a financing plan as we move forward with the town hall project and utilizing some of that. But you might recall at the last town meeting, we tried to transfer, I think it was $1.5 million, but it failed by a small margin. But
Yep. Well, I think that's something worth talking about, because rather than calling it a specific building fund, I think we call it the capital building fund, without expressing an earmark to any particular project. We will remove that particular problem. And even though we said it goes into a named fund, it does not belong to that project until the voters vote on it.
Right.
Then I think if we go into an unidentified to a specific building fund, just the capital fund, I think we'll make that abundantly clear to everyone that that's what it's for, whatever buildings come up. And I think also we need to show that as a normal part of operating the town, we are going to have capital expenditures going forward into the future for all of our capital resources, all of the buildings, school buildings, town buildings, equipment, whatever. And that's an ongoing and normal operating cost for the town. One of those slides we have to put up.
Yes,
Okay.
going forward.
absolutely. That makes the most sense. Is there anything else that we should be aware of? I haven't seen anything come from the Board of Selectmen asking for our input on anything for projects or anything else, so.
No, the only biggest project that we're working on, obviously, is the town hall. The selectmen have asked that Martha Taylor and I take the old documents. We had already engaged an architect to do a lot of the space analysis. So to take those documents, review them, start working with him again, put together a schematic design so that they have something to look at, and we're hoping to have that by the end of January.
Okay.
So,
Well,
more to come.
excellent, and I know you distributed to us the budget calendar. So CPC requests should have been due already.
They're all,
They're all-
And the budget requests or from your department managers should be in as well.
yep.
So we should be looking at the preliminary revenue estimates.
The end of the month.
Will be ready at the end of the month, so for our February 1st meeting. And then any special articles we should know.
Yep.
In our March meeting.
Yep.
There is a notice on the, that in March, we will have more than one meeting. We will have a meeting on the 1st with our committee, and then we will have a joint meeting with the select board on the 29th.
Yeah.
Because that will be the final votes on the budget. So I think that should work through, and all of this is working towards annual town meeting on April 26th.
Yeah, before you know it.
Exactly.
Is there anything you are aware of that we should be aware of coming down the pike?
You probably know more than I do. I don't
Okay.
anticipate, I'm not aware of anything as of sitting here right now.
Yeah, okay. All right, just,
That could change, you know that, Gene.
I know.
So, any other questions for Tracy?
COVID, or whatever.
Get rid of COVID.
No, I'm, the money that we get,
The ARPA funds,
funds, what was that now?
ARPA,
ARPA.
Yeah,
American Rescue
Yeah.
Plan, yeah.
what do we do? What are we supposed to get?
We got 2.1 million.
21. Okay, we got.
We received 2.1 million. We've already committed 550,000 to the Council on Aging potential move. We're still, we're still struggling with all the regulations, trying to get through all the red tape, get all the approvals in place. This is a very unique proposal. So we're close, I think, but that's still under review. And 100,000 was approved for the food pantry.
Oh, that's nice.
Yep. And as of right now, I have no other grant proposals in front of us, but there will likely be a request for about $20,000 to establish an ARPA portal on our website, and to work with a consultant to make sure that we are crossing all our Ts and dotting all our Is. I don't know, some of you may have seen in recent newspaper articles about communities that kind of jumped the gun, went out, spent the money, and now they're paying it back, because the guidelines are very stringent, and the guidance hasn't been, we're working with the interim final rule. The final rule is not even out yet. When you contact the feds, the guidance is call your town council, kind of a thing. So it's been a bit of a struggle to get the we typically try to be conservative here, and we don't spend the money until we are sure that it's appropriate, and it will be subject to a single audit, a federal single audit, so we want to make sure that we've done our due
So what's the
diligence.
function of the ARPA portal?
The portal?
Yeah, what's the function? of
It
the
would be
portal?
available on our website, so anyone that had, could apply for these funds.
But I guess what I'm asking is,
Yep.
who's on the back side of the ARPA portal? Is
It would be Clifton Larson Associates, they're kind of the leaders in this stuff. They were the first ones out of the gate. Consultants, they're auditing consultants.
So they're an auditing committee, and they will say, yes, this request would
Right.
fit if you so choose to go through it, or
Right.
no, this would not be allowed under federal
Exactly,
guidelines.
exactly.
So that's essentially what they're charging.
It's another layer, we're ultimately responsible, but it's another layer. Like what we've done is, for the two that we had, we went through, myself and the town accountant, we kind of figured what we thought it would fall under. And the document's, a few hundred pages deep, and then we petitioned the feds, then we contacted the state, and then we contacted ultimately our town council. And I felt like we were missing a level of approval, so we did some research and found this company, and they, like I said, they seem to be the leaders in this, in terms of, they got out of the gate right away. So we've contracted with them to help.
What are they charging us?
It's gonna be, it would be about 20 grand.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is there any guarantees with them, or it's just?
It's not a guarantee, but I will be honest, I'd feel a lot more, they're the experts in this, far more than any of the staff here, or, we're all kind of trying to get through it on our own, but.
So $20,000 for the IT piece for the fire department would fit under that category?
No, unfortunately.
They said it was.
We could
pandemic
try,
related.
I mean,
No,
I
no.
suppose we
I know you need
could
to
mess
do it.
around,
I know
but.
you can't wait.
Right, yeah, the guidance is pretty specific, but.
You can't do anything post,
What?
you can't post date anything, like for, let's say the IT project for the fire department's done.
Yep.
But you've done it in a time where the ARPA funds could, in theory, be available. You cannot go back and say, hey, this qualifies underneath, and
I don't
Like
know the
that,
answer to
sure.
that question, if you could do a retro and seek reimbursement. I
Yeah.
don't know the answer to that. I'll find out.
It might be, that's a good question,
maybe,
because,
if it fits the criteria and
Yeah.
it's done during 2022,
because of emergency.
Actually, it goes back
Right.
to 2020.
Yeah.
And it's the
As a result
grants
of-
were
Yeah.
5
right,
years.
but the actual capital outlays in
Right,
2022.
right. Yep.
And say, yes, this fits the criteria, we couldn't wait for your approval, it's public safety.
Yep. I can ask them.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
And then under old business, we have an approval of meeting minutes from 3 from 2020 and then a handful from 2021. In December, we were, Jack Rybicki submitted a public records information request, a request for records that the minutes had not been posted in a timely manner, so we had 10 days to produce all of the minutes and submit them to him. So we did an audit of the website and all of our records and read through all of the minutes and noted where in our records minutes had been approved, but those minutes had not been posted. Those have now all been posted. He personally has been provided with all of the minutes for the past 2 years as per his request from 2020 and 2021. And I did identify 3 from 2020 that need to be approved. We could not find record that they had been approved. And then for a number of them for 2021. So all of the meeting minutes are attached in your packet, and we can go through one by one to see if there's any amendments to them prior to approving. So that's,
Unless you all possess extraordinary memory, I don't see.
I'm gonna say, I wasn't even, Frank wasn't on the committee, I wasn't on for parts of for most of the 2020 pieces, so
What are the ones that we have to approve?
they're all here. We have the meeting minutes from March 31st, 2020, June 10th, 2020, and December 8th, 2020. And they all are prepared and in here as well. And then for 2021, February 2nd, 2021, March 9th, 2021, April 6th, 2021, April 15th, 2021, that would be during budget time, May 4th, 2021, July 6th, 2021, September 9th, 2021, and October 5th, 2021. Our meeting on November 9th of 2021 does not need approval because it was a joint meeting with the select board, and that is the meetings of record, and those have already been approved and posted.
Now to approve, you have to venue the meeting, correct?
Yes, correct.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You're off.
No, town council said there's a rule of necessity that you can vote even if you weren't here.
Oh,
Can we
Yeah.
can
move
vote
to
on them
approve
as
all
lump
those that have
sum?
not been
Yeah,
previously
approve even if you weren't
approved.
on the board.
Yeah, because apparently what happens frequently is
Yeah.
people move on and off boards,
Yeah.
and there would be situations where minutes would never get approved.
That's right.
So they do, you are allowed to.
I move.
I would second that.
You got
I'll
my
second
motion. Okay.
Any discussion of the minutes? Can I get a vote? All those in favor of approving?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Go.
That's good too, but that makes sense, and I wondered what would happen if you could never approve because enough people weren't
Yep.
there,
Mhm.
It's all fun.
you know?
That's,
Well, yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
God. Thank God we could do it all at once.
yes, so I will update each of these documents tomorrow morning, said approved with the
But you're not
approved
gonna go home
date.
and do them tonight?
Approved a date and post them to the portal. We will also have a spot on our agenda going forward at the top of the agenda for approving the previous meeting's minutes. Because it was a lot of fun to go back, because there was some I was going back and forth, I was searching my inbox for things to make sure we had them. I was watching, I was like, okay, did we actually meet? Oh, there's their Zoom recording, okay. We'd like,
No, I don't think we had that many Zoom meetings last year.
matching.
We
That's,
did have a fair number.
we did have a fair number, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Remember, I'm trying to forget all of that.
It's okay.
So that's
I don't
old
blame you.
business.
So that is old business. The only other thing is any committee reports and updates. So for CPC and or master plan, do we have?
CPC will have for next meeting.
Okay.
I do have a little update for master plan.
Oh.
The select board had a conversation, someone had approached them about it, they were concerned that it wasn't moving forward, and it did, it got absolutely pushed to the back burner. The planning board had so many public hearings going on throughout the pandemic. So what we've done is we've hired a consultant who is going to come in and take the pieces that we had hoped we were going to do on our own, rather than, was it Community Opportunities Group, Marshall, that we had initially? They've since disbanded, they're not even an entity anymore, but, so the consultant that we hired actually lives in town, and has a deep interest in planning, so hopefully we can expedite things a little bit, but rather than use the outdated data, where the new census should be coming out sometime soon, we're gonna wait for those numbers to come out, and then we'll have a current document.
Okay. What's the timeline on that? Do you know, like, what we think that there'll be a current document?
We're hoping spring.
Okay,
That's what they're shooting for.
all right.
And they're gonna reappoint the committee, because the select board didn't even reappoint them, I don't think. So they're gonna reappoint the committee, get everybody re-engaged and move this forward.
Thank you. And then, update from the District Communications Committee, all 3 towns. So when we met with the Board of Selectmen here to talk about the Triton campus issues, our town, Finance and Board of Selectmen both voted for the Triton District School Committee to move forward with submitting a letter of intention, Yeah.
Letter of interest.
Says statement of interest.
Statement of
Statement of
interest,
interest.
statement of interest. At the time we met, Rowley had also done the same. Salisbury had not yet met with Triton or had discussions. They subsequently did also put their support behind it. So Triton and the school committee is moving forward with that statement of interest to the Mass Building Association, School Building Association. So that's where it stands there. There are also 2 subcommittees, and Alicia Greco and I both are on the Alternative Assessment Committee Working Group, which means we are meeting with representatives from our town, Triton, Rowley, Salisbury, to talk about what alternative formulas or methods we could use to divvy up the cost of each year's operating budget for Triton. This would not impact any capital, so anything talking about a larger building, any adjustments to that would not fall into any sort of new formula. Also, even if an alternative assessment was agreed to, it has to be, number one, it has to be put into the regional agreement, which the regional agreement needs to be passed at town meeting at all 3 towns, and each year that we elect to use the alternative assessment, instead of the state formula, it has to be it has to be stated that we're using the alternative method, and again, it has to be passed that year, all 3 towns at that time. So this is still in the working phases, so we haven't even talked about like rolling averages or, anything of like what year to use for different bases. We're just really getting into the nuts and bolts of it. It has nothing to do with any of the capital outlays for us owning, Newbury Elementary. And one thing that is in the regional agreement, which bears keeping in mind, is that even though the district owns Salisbury Elementary, if there was a major capital expense, such as a roof, that would be paid for solely by the town of Salisbury. It does not go into a split because of the way and that's in the regional agreement already. So that's kind of the updates from the from DCC. Meet again later this month. And then the last item I have under new business is entertaining discussion of conducting our meetings via Zoom for the next couple of months, if that's something the board is interested in doing. The select board has green-lighted holding meetings via Zoom, but we need to, each board or committee needs to vote to do so ahead of time. And a couple of things that go along with Zoom is that we have to adhere to posting requirements. We must have all of our documents must be posted online, visible, 48 hours in advance of the meeting. And our draft minutes need to be approved, our draft minutes need to be posted 48 hours after the meeting ends. They would get posted as draft and then be approved at the subsequent month's meeting in order to follow through. Because as Tracy and I realized, we'd have to have a meeting within 48 hours to approve the minutes, and then we'd have to write the minutes and approve them, and write the minutes and approve them, and we'd be stuck in that.
Why don't we just meet here?
So, but that's one of the things of whether or not that so that's what every board and committee, I do know that conservation, just looking at the town calendar, there are some boards and committees that are meeting by Zoom and some of them are meeting here.
I would say.
Do we wanna-
Leave that up to the discretion of the chair based upon certain conditions.
As long as you guys don't mind me coming here without a mask on, because I can't wear one, I'd say meet here.
Zoom's fun. I mean, Zoom worked fine for us, I thought, didn't it?
I hate Zoom.
Well, it did work, we do have some other considerations.
I mean, if circumstances go down, they continue to go downhill. Who's gonna make the decision? We should vote to at least allow the committee to do
Yes.
that. If the
Vote to
conditions
allow
warrant.
it, that
Yeah.
way it's a belt and suspenders
Yeah,
Yeah.
opportunity,
Mhm.
that way in the event
Yeah, I
that
understand.
if things are great, wonderful, and everybody wants to come in, great.
yeah, yeah.
It was recorded anyway, and so it gets broadcast.
Right, and in that way, it does allow us, so one of the reasons Joe was unable to attend in person tonight, but since we had not posted all of the reports, it wasn't fair to have him try to Zoom in and not have handouts that we had physically here. So this would allow us to plan in advance to have those, the decision would likely be made Thursday or so prior, but gives us the option to switch to Zoom if we know that there's a weather event or a
Yeah.
COVID event.
So I would make a motion to allow the determination of whether to have a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting to the chair.
Second.
Sorry to interrupt that, does it have to be on if or can it be on, I mean, like, for example, you just said Joe didn't Zoom in today because it wouldn't be, if we're gonna be posting documents anyway.
If we're gonna be
is it-
posting out, then it allows us to probably be able to do it. I know the select board has had that they have had that recently, where one member has had to Zoom in.
Right.
I will caution that I'm not sure what the IT capabilities here are, so that if someone's trying to watch it in real time, whether or not they see, we do not have like split screen abilities,
Right,
things like that. So
right,
just,
right. I didn't
just
think of that.
no, understanding
Yeah.
that it might be that someone who's on the phone is a voice and not a face.
Yeah, and we used to do that, actually. We had
Yeah,
We have
we
remote
would let
meetings.
people, yeah, we'd have people
We
dial
have
in.
remote participation.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
so,
What are you doing?
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what, it would be a
Sitting too
worthwhile
long.
thing to have.
yeah.
In our
Sit that long.
pockets, in the event somebody's not here.
Gee, you cracked me
whatever.
up.
Yeah, so I just think that it is more a sense too, if someone is
Do you need
home
to be
via
replaced?
No.
quarantine for COVID or other
Oh.
protections, that it's giving us
Bananas.
1 week.
Yeah.
Banana every day.
Look, I won't be here for February or March, because we'll be away, so if you
It-
need a quorum,
Then,
that's the only way you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
right, no, that makes,
See, there it is, right
so,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did we vote? Not yet.
No, we haven't even had a second yet.
Oh,
Do you have to change the motion? Or does the
Well,
motion be the same?
Can't understand
okay.
it.
There's a motion to allow the chair to determine whether or not to have a Zoom meeting.
In person.
yeah, that leaves it open.
Then I'll second that.
So
Discussion?
in writing that, Marshall, is that also allowing somebody to take the ball if they're not able to be
Yep.
here?
Yes.
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 Yes,
That's always been the case.
yes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Yep. And our next meeting is proposed to be Tuesday, February 1st, 7 PM. It is scheduled to be in this room, but we will also have a Zoom capability and with documents to be provided the week before to be
Yeah,
posted.
and I'll get you the script, because there's a
Perfect.
very specific script we need to use, and all the votes have to be in roll call votes if you choose to.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Seeing no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Vote. Aye.
Aye.
We're good.